Hi everyone, it's Dawn. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, my name is Dawn and I'm a 55-year-old woman here in the mature beauty community, and I invite you to hit the subscribe button and stick around. So today I'm going to do a video that I've never done before. It is a get ready with me, which I've done lots of those before, but I'm going to answer some of your questions from the recent Q&A that I put in my community tab. I said I wanted to do a Q&A video and asked if you had any questions. And so many of you asked questions. Some of your questions are questions, and then there's more questions within that question. And so if I don't answer your question in entirety, I will go back around and answer the rest of your question in an upcoming video if you like this type of video. But I'm only answering 3 people's questions today because each question gives me enough to talk about. And plus there's some kind of categories too, because some of my handbag loving ladies want me to share some of my favorite purses and what are my most practical purses or things like that. So I'm going to do that in a different video, all about purses and handbags because we love them, right ladies? So I thought I would answer some of your questions while I get ready using the Natasha Denona Hyper Real Face Palette. You guys know I love a good face palette, and I ended up splurging on this one. There was a sale on the Natasha Denona website a month, 6 weeks ago, and I got it then. And I did end up bringing only this with me when we went on spring break. I was going to bring my Milani face palette, but I got this and I decided I really wanted to have a good opportunity to play around with it. And I love every look that I could do with this palette. And I'm not going to talk a lot about the palette. There are a lot of videos of YouTubers using this palette and a lot of information about it on blogs and things like that. But I'll tell you what I do know about this palette, and I'm mostly familiar with this palette because I've been using it. And so the looks I do is what I would tell you about this palette, if that makes sense. And what I really love about this palette though is that it doesn't have kick up. It's very easy to use, and all the products, the blushes, the bronzers, the eyeshadows are very, very nice over, like with my moisturizer, my sunblock, my foundations, and I've used lots of different foundations beneath it, different eyelid primers, and it works well with everything. It really is a super easy palette to use, a really practical face palette. I have a couple other Natasha Denona face palettes. I have the Love face palette, which is like pinky and think of love. And then I have the Glam palette, which is like bronzy and gold, sort of. Super pretty. I love that palette, mainly because those colors really suit me with my eye color and hair color. But this one, I think, is the one that is like most practical for everyone, no matter what your complexion is like or what products you use under it and so on and so forth. I think that just about everybody would love this palette. And I also like that it comes with bronzers and blushes, whereas the face palette, the Love face palette and the Glam face palette only come with blushes, but they're larger. So it's a really, really nice palette, and this is what it looks like. So I am just gonna start getting ready with this palette. I'm gonna start from the ground up, my foundation, primer, eyelid primer, brows, everything, while I answer these questions. So I hope you'll stick around and I hope you'll enjoy this video, and I'm gonna jump right in and get started. Okay, I'm gonna jump right in using my MAC Pro Longwear Nourishing Foundation. I've talked about this before. It's one of my absolute favorite foundations. It's nourishing, and I don't know what exactly that means. I think it has like skin care ingredients in it, but it is such a pretty soft matte finish, and it's also waterproof. And don't let that scare you. It washes off very nicely in the shower with your cleanser, but I can work out in this foundation in the really hot summer days. If I'm sweaty, this foundation is such a good foundation. I would recommend this foundation for anyone, for like an everyday foundation, or just to have on hand for those days when it's really hot or you're working out and you want to wear a little something on your skin. Plus, I've been breaking out a little bit on my chin. I should have pointed that out before I started. You probably could see it, but it covers my blemishes. I switched my moisturizer and it broke me out. I'll talk to you guys about that more in an upcoming video, but it broke me out, and it's still healing. Whenever I get a breakout, it's like red for a long time, and then it kind of gets flaky, and then my skin peels, and then it's red for a while after that too. So the joys of having really fair skin, it's like everything shows. And this is the foundation that I've been wearing just about every day lately because I've been going to the gym almost every day, sometimes twice. And when I say gym, I mean Pure Barre, because I joined, as many of you know, because you've been following me. But that leads me to my first question, and that's from Carolyn, and she asked, am I still going to the gym and to Bible study? And yes, I've actually increased my membership at the gym to unlimited, so I can go as much as I want. I don't know why I didn't do that in the first place. Well, I guess I didn't do it in the first place because I wasn't sure about, I really enjoyed the initial workouts, and I wanted to kind of tread into it slowly for 3 months, and that's what I did. But I've slowly increased the amount of time I've been going. So now I just increased my membership to unlimited, and I love it. So I'm gonna go in with the Natasha Denona Hyper Natural Face Palette, and I'm not going to talk too much about it. I think I talked about it I'm going to talk about it in the intro. I'll film the intro after I do this, and I'll tell you more about the palette there. So you've probably already seen that. But this is what it looks like. It's such a beautiful palette because it has everything you need in it. And I do probably the same 2 looks all the time since I've had this about 6 weeks. And the looks I do is I either use the pink and then this dark color here. It's really pretty. I don't know how you would describe it. It's like a shade shifter, really pretty together. And I do sort of like a smoky eye, or I do these really like bronzy and brownish shades with a little bit of the bronzer in my crease, and I do like a more neutral look. So pretty. And then sometimes I just put this all over my lid, black eyeliner and mascara, and I'm good to go. But there's a lot more looks you can achieve from this palette. It's a beautiful palette, and I would really recommend this. So to finish answering Carolyn's question, yes, I still am going to Pure Barre. I love it. I look forward to it every day. When I'm there, the classes are 50 minutes long, and sometimes I take 2 a day, one like in the morning-ish or early afternoon, and one in the evening. And I do a balance of sort of like stretching, kind of yoga, but it's not really yoga, but there are some yoga moves. So it's a combination of like stretching, balance, and still working your muscles a little bit, but you don't do any cardio or weights or anything like that in that class. And it's a really kind of Zen class because you're really just focusing on your body, stretching, and your balance, which I'm finding out I need help with. And I really like that class. And then in the evening, I do one of their other classes. One is called Define, and it's kind of like the bar method, but with weights, and they're not super heavy weights, like a lightweight and a medium weight. And anyone can do this. I mean, anybody can do this. Even if you just had a surgery, there's a way to modify it so that you could still do a little bit of workout once your doctor says it's okay. Elderly women are in my class. There's 20-somethings in my class, and a lot of middle-aged women like myself. I love every minute of it. And then the other class I like is their classic class, and it's like the classic bar method. And I'm not really good at describing it, so you can Google it, and it's like a lot of small muscle movements and the mind-body connection. I feel like it's really changing my body in the 3 months that I've been doing it. And yeah, I just look forward to it every day. I absolutely love it. I've never done like group exercise classes that I was really excited about. And I never even really liked to exercise very much. I always said I just did an active lifestyle, or had an active lifestyle, riding my bike, hiking with my family, some stretching and stuff like that at home, maybe some light weights, but nothing like this. And I just really love it. And I'm not a salesperson for Pure Barre, but it's worked really well for me. Okay, so I'm gonna take the pink shade. I'm gonna do the look that I did yesterday, and I really liked it. So it's this pink shade right here. And that's what that looks like. Very light, very soft, pretty pink. And I just have my Luxie brushes today, just to let you know what brushes I'm using. Gross, I have some sleep in my eye. from this morning that I didn't notice. I just woke up like 45 minutes ago. Okay, so I'm gonna take this and put this all over my mobile lid and up through my crease and even up to like my brow bone. And at first, it's very, very light, but it's very buildable and there's no kick up. And I think it's such a soft, sheer, pretty pink. You could wear this alone, again, with like eyeliner and mascara, and it would be just so pretty. Okay, I'm gonna do the other eye real quick, and I'm gonna keep answering your questions. Oh, my dogs. They're being so silly. Kenny's being super silly. Okay. Then Bible study is the other thing that Carolyn asked if I'm still going to Bible study, and absolutely I am. I try to never miss because it is like my lifeline. I feel like through this time of life where I've been struggling, you know, with a little bit of anxiety and depression, that has been my saving grace. The women in my Bible study are amazing. I've been with them for 2 years and hopefully we'll stay together next year too. So we've really built a rapport and a trust with one another. And I love them. I just love them. I can honestly say I love each and every woman in my group. And they're women of all ages. We've got a girl who's like in her late 30s and she's so sweet. She's our youngin'. And then, oh my gosh, my dogs are going nuts over here. Kenny's like antagonizing Toby. See, you can kind of see him. There's Toby and Kenny's taking the pillow Toby's laying on, so he's trying to pull it out from under him, and Toby's not having it. Okay, so back to the topic at hand. So they're wonderful and I love them. And I'm so thankful that God led me to this group of women, because during COVID, I stopped going to Bible study because it was all on Zoom and I wasn't doing anything except like listening to stuff on YouTube. And I still was, you know, praying and just practicing my faith, but it's so different when you're doing it with a group of women. For years, I was in a Bible study with women kind of just like me. They were friends from my neighborhood. There were women at church where they would kind of place me with these women. Now I'm doing this shade, Lexi brush. And that was really nice because I had that camaraderie and friendship during the mommy years when you don't get to talk to a lot of women your age. But now that I'm an empty nester or very close to being one, I really just appreciate the mix of women in my group. I probably would have appreciated it when I was younger too, but at that time I was really just looking for a best friend, you know? So anyways, that was kind of the journey with my Bible study. But yeah, we're studying how to pray now. And I talked about that in my last video or the one before. If you have questions about it, just ask me in the comments. I showed the book and told you guys a little bit about the study. It's so good. You break down like 4 different prayers in the Bible. Like the Lord's Prayer is the one we just finished. And now we are on a break for Easter. We didn't have Bible study this week on Tuesday, but next week we're going to tackle like another prayer, and I'm not sure which one that is. I still need to start breaking my book open and doing my homework. So I love my Bible study, love my ladies. I'm actually really sad that we don't have Bible study over the summer months because I really need it. I really need it. So I'm going to have to look for something or a group of women to get together with and do like our own Bible study over the summer, because every church I've ever done Bible study at, they do that. They do have like a summer Bible study, but it's usually like on an evening. And on the evenings, I like to be with my family, like for dinner and things like that. So morning suits me better. So I'm just gonna have to look for something and keep my eyes open for something. But yeah, that's the answer to Carolyn's question. Thank you for asking questions, Carolyn. Okay, I think you saw what I did. I used this all over my mobile lid up through my brow bone, and then I just put this like in the outer corner through the crease and smoked it out. So that's all I've done. And now I'm gonna take this little slant, like it's a really thin brush. It's not slanted, it's just straight across, but it's really good for like right under your eye. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that shade shifter, the dark color. And I was really careful with it. I tapped it off on a napkin to not get so much under my eye. And I'm just gonna drag a little of this underneath my eye as close to my lash line as I can. And Guys, I just love that there's no kick up with this. You don't have like anything to clean up when you're done. I love Natasha Denona for that reason, but I know some of her topper shades, the really shiny shades, some of them can be a little crumbly, but if you apply them with your finger, they're good. But if you apply those with a brush, they can be very crumbly, in my opinion. Okay, I am gonna use a little bit of this shiny shade right here. It's just a sheer, really pretty, super beautiful shiny shade. I'm picking it up with a pencil brush, again, Luxie. I just cleaned all my brushes, and I like to swap out my brushes. Sometimes I use a lot of like IT Cosmetics brushes or MAC. And then when I wash them, I kind of put them away and I'll pull out all my Real Techniques brushes or Sonia Kashuk brushes and use those for a while. And then I'll wash all those and I'll pull out my Luxie brushes because I have gathered up a lot of brushes over the years. And so I like to just have like, I don't know, I like to use all the same ones at the same time. Okay, and I've got that on my finger again, and I'm just gonna put that in the center for a spotlight. Just like a nice sheer, shiny spotlight. I'm gonna use my Kosas Air Brow. You guys have seen me use this a million times. This is my favorite brow product. Mine is in the shade Auburn. I really like Glossier's Boy Brow in Auburn too, but this one goes a little bit longer, like you don't run out as soon. So that's why I like this one the most. Okay, then the next question is from Lisa, and she asked, what is the personality trait that I'm most proud of? And I think she might have had a two-part question. Some of you asked like maybe 2 or 3 questions within your question, and I'm gonna get to all of them. I might just answer one of them right now and I'll get to the other ones. And some of you like asked, well, anyways, I think in the intro, I'll explain that more. So anyways, she asked, what's the personality trait that I'm most proud of? First, let me tell you a little bit about my personality. And I don't know if this is personality or what, but when I was younger, like a young girl, I had ADHD and nobody knew it. My dad has it too, but nobody knew it because back then we didn't really have a name for it. I was not a troublemaker, but I was very talkative and I couldn't focus on like a lot of my learning. So I was a very average student. K through high school. And then when I got into college, then I learned something that I kind of have a superpower, so to speak. I have an excellent memory. So I'm very good at memorizing things and recalling information. And I remember faces, I remember names, and I remember snippets of, well, just like everybody, but I think I have a really sharp memory. And maybe it's because I struggled so much with my focus. You know how sometimes when your ears are bad, your eyesight's better, and so on, that kind of phenomenon. I think that's what it's like. So I learned that if I didn't really understand something that I was learning, like say I was taking anatomy and physiology because I'm a nurse, but back then I was taking anatomy and physiology. So during that time, if I was taking that and I didn't understand something, like the Krebs cycle, which if you guys are in the medical field or a nurse or anything, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's like your sodium potassium pump in your body that helps balance your electrolytes. And it was very hard for me to understand that. And so I could memorize and take good notes and memorize everything verbatim and do excellent on the test, even though I didn't fully understand it. And you might think, oh, well, that's bad because you're a nurse. But actually what happened was I learned that when I was in a clinical setting, like in nursing school, and I was applying that information, that's when I learned it. And that's when I could recall that information and it made sense to me. So that's something I'm really proud of, that I was able to kind of overcome that. I don't know if that answers the personality thing, but that's something about myself that you guys might not know. And it's still like this today. But I do think I'm a very like happy person for the most part, even though I've been battling some anxiety and depression. I've always been like a friendly person. I'm just using this eyeliner from L'Oreal. I really like it. It's the Fat Cat one. It came with like a stencil to do a wing, but I'm not gonna use that. When I reviewed this for the first time, I told you guys I probably wasn't gonna keep using that and I was gonna lose it. And I think that's what happened. I lost it. But I'm gonna stay close to my lash line. It's hard for me to talk and apply this at the same time. So here I go. So anyways, I feel like I'm a pretty like upbeat, optimistic person. So I think I can be fun to be around. and that sounds like tooting my own horn, but hold on, Kenny's getting into something. Kenny, no. No, Kenny. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I heard Kenny rattling around something, and he had a cosmetics case full of makeup, and he dragged it to the middle of the floor and was having fun with that. Okay, so anyways, I'm a friendly person. I like to make friends. I smile a lot, and even though the world has kind of gone dark where people aren't smiling at each other in like the grocery store, or, like, when I go to the grocery store and I'm passing someone in the aisle, I'll give them a smile, and a lot of people will be like, who's that crazy lady smiling at me? But it's like some people, it's like kind of funny. They'll be looking down or have a very serious face, like they're not smiling or being super friendly. But then when you smile at them, they sort of light up and smile back. Some people do. Some people are kind of like, what's wrong with her? So anyways, I try to be really friendly and upbeat. And even when I'm feeling my worst, like really sad and anxious, just kind of smiling and trying to stay positive has been very helpful. I try not to let it kind of drag me down. So anyways, now I'm going to use Thrive Liquid Lash Extension. I still love my Maybelline Sky High. That's like that and the Honest Beauty Mascara are my favorite traditional mascaras. They're wonderful. But since I've been going through this stage and crying more often, I don't want to use that because I don't know, it just won't hold up with tears, but this will. But also with workouts, if I get sweaty, which, sometimes I get a little sweaty and it drips. This is great. And I also love the Kat Von D full sleeve. I think I used this in my last video with you. These two are like neck and neck as my favorites. I love them both. And the other personality trait is patience. I think I'm a pretty patient person, and I wasn't always a patient person. That was something that occurred over time, throughout my life, like a lot of personality traits. I try to be very patient. I can wait for a long time for things. I just feel like I'm fairly patient, and I'm patient with people, and I'm not stubborn. Like, I'm forgiving, and I don't like to hold grudges. So that's something that I'm proud of, because I'm not gonna say any names, but I have a family member who's always been like stubborn. Like when this person made up their mind about something, 30 years later, they'll still be talking about it. And it's like the stubbornness, not forgiving. And I have seen how relationships have been kind of altered because of that, not forgiving someone, because even if that person and you are not going to be close ever again, forgiving them gives them a gift, but it gives you a gift. Everyone, I think, has heard that expression that when you are holding a grudge against someone, it's like giving yourself poison, it like poisons you. So I don't fester on things. That's something that kind of comes easy for me to like forgive. But something new I discovered about myself in the past couple of years that I never really knew before, and I don't think it's something I've always had in me, is an open-mindedness. Like now I'm more open-minded about things. Even if I say, I feel very strongly about this, and I'll say something like that I feel strongly about later, when I really think about that thing, I think, well, no, I don't really feel that strongly about it. And I'll often tell the person that I was like talking with about this topic, I'll say, you know what? I really don't feel that strongly. I guess I need to open my mind more. So I try to be more open-minded. All right, this is one of my absolute favorite concealers, Lancome Effersons. This is wonderful. It's a lot like the MAC Pro Longwear, where it's nourishing, it doesn't crease, and it's waterproof. So it's great for the summer, but it's really great in the winter, and it's really creamy, and it doesn't dry out my under eye. So I put a little dab, and then I kind of go like this, and then I just tap it. And sometimes I use a brush, but a lot of times I just use my finger to just blend it out, where I get dark shadows here, or sometimes redness. So there, conceal the old under eye. Now I'm gonna use the bronzer. There's 3 bronzers in here. And what I do is I take the first 2 and just kind of blend them together on my brush. I don't really use the darkest one very often. When I do use it, I use it as like an eyeshadow or underneath my eye. It's really pretty for that. It's a nice matte brown. It's like not too warm, not too cool. And I'm just gonna bronze up my face a little bit now that the weather's a little bit nicer, and I'm gonna start self-tanning more often. It's nice to have everything kind of match. Not really contouring, just making sure I just don't look so pasty pale. I like to really get like the top of my forehead and a little bit in the backs of my cheekbones and my jawline, which I guess is contouring. Sometimes even take a little down my neck. The next question is from my friend Colleen, and thank you for asking. Colleen asked 3 questions in one, and I'm only gonna answer the first one because I could make like a mini video on all 3 of her questions, which are so good, and they're things I like to talk about. And so anyways, the question she asked is, what is the best gift I ever received? And I'm not going to answer it like in an intangible way, like, you know, my family and Jesus dying on the cross for my sins. You know, all those things kind of go without saying. I'm going to answer it with like a real physical gift. And I'm sure I've received a lot of gifts that are very special to me. Oh my gosh, I feel so bad if I don't mention them all, but there's one that really stands out recently, and it's a gift that my daughter gave me, my eldest daughter. So before I show it to you, I'm going to start with, I'll tell you the story while I apply the blush. So there's this really nice matte pink in here, and then this kind of raspberry shade, and they're so, so pretty. And I just take like a slanted brush and I kind of go into mostly the light pink, but I get a little bit of the dark pink on the brush too. And then I apply it like this. And as you can see, the dark pink leaves like is mostly in the back because the way I applied it. So that's the way I like it. I like the lighter pink on my cheekbones. Okay, so my husband and I were dating in the early 90s, and back then, we used to live in a town where we could walk almost everywhere. And we had a Starbucks kind of close, and we loved to go there. It was back in the days when the Starbucks baristas were a little bit mean. They were a little bit mean to you. And you had to be hurry through your order, and they kind of roll their eyes if you had something complicated, if you didn't know how to order, like if you ordered a large instead of a venti, that kind of thing. So we would walk to the Starbucks, and it was also during the time when Starbucks wasn't so commercialized, and they had a lot of really unique gifts and things like that. And they used to get their mugs and cups from like Bulgaria, from like an artist who hand painted them. And the gift that my husband got for me around this time of year, back in 1994, is this mug from Starbucks. And I've had it all these years, and it was hand painted in Hungary, and the artist signed the bottom, and all of them are a little bit different because they're all like hand painted. Starbucks doesn't carry things like this anymore. It's all very commercialized, and I love this because it is so old and I've had it for so long, so it's become very special to me. And my daughter, when she went to college, my middle daughter, I went to visit her one day and she had it in her cabinet, and I was like, oh, no. That mug was given to me by your father in 1994, and I've had it all these years. Nothing can happen to it. So I forbade her from taking this mug. And it's a nice big mug, and you can put a lot of coffee in it, and I just love this mug the most. And so this is like the first part of the gift. It's the gift that my husband, it's one of the first things he ever gave to me back in 1994, and I've had it all this time, and it's very, very special to me. But this story doesn't end here. Hang on one second. So after that happened with my daughter taking the mug, I had shared that story with my family that, oh no, she took that mug, and that is like definitely not something that can happen. I need to preserve it for all of eternity. And so then the holidays rolled around, and my daughter Nadia came home. This is my eldest daughter, and she surprised me with something. She had gone onto eBay and looked for that mug, and she thought she found another one like it, and she was going to get a few of them so we can all have one. But when they arrived, she realized they were really small, which is fine. And these are the mugs that she got, and they match the large one. So I'm the mama and all my kids can have one, plus one for my husband. It was an extra one that I did allow my daughter Paulina to take back to her house with her, just to have that special mug. But they are all so unique and hand painted in Hungary from Starbucks at that same time. And I love it because they're all hand painted and they're so different. Like, the whiskers on this one are very thin and kind of just, you know, one's thick and they're kind of painted like that. But this guy has a bunch of thick ones sticking straight out. And they're all like that. They're all just so different. The same exact mug, but all different because they were hand painted in Hungary. So anyways, this is one of the most special gifts I've ever received because my daughter went through all that trouble to get them for me, and she was so happy when she found one person who had a whole set, and I couldn't believe it when I opened the gift. I just was like so overcome. It made me cry because it was just so thoughtful of her and so special. So that's one of the best gifts that has ever been given to me. Okay, so now I'm not going to use any lip liner, and I'm just going to go in with Charlotte Tilbury's Dance Floor Princess, which is such a pretty soft pink, and it kind of goes with this whole look. If you'd like to use a lip liner, Pillow Talk or Walk of No Shame is really good with this. But I really love this pink. It's so soft. It's not overpowering. It's perfect for spring. And I think I'm done with all my makeup. So let me bring you in close. I just love the all-in-one palettes from Natasha Denona. You guys know I'm crazy about these. You just pull out one palette and you're good to go for your whole look. And I just love each and every one of these that I have. I have the Love palette. I have the Glam palette, I think. Yeah, it's like more bronzy. I've done a video with that one before. I should do it again. I love that palette so much. But yeah, they're really good. I thought I'd tie this all up with one last question from my subscriber friend, Kat. And Kat asked, what are my children's names? How did we choose them? And what other names did we like? And that's a pretty easy question. So my husband is from Czechoslovakia and Slovenia. His family is very Slavic, and my family is from Eastern Europe, mostly German. So we wanted to pick a name that sort of reflected our ancestry. So when we had our first daughter, Nadia, we wanted to name her Nadia. Well, we chose Nadia because initially we liked Natasha, but my niece is named Natasha. And so we didn't want there to be two Natashas in the family. So we kept going through the baby name book back in the day. That's what you did. And we came across the name Nadia. I had a book that was called The Baby Name Survey, and it had all these names, and it told you what people's perception are of these names because they did surveys. So they would ask a name like Mallory, for example, and then people would answer what comes to mind when they hear that name. And these were brutally honest. Like some of them, I thought, oh my gosh, no, I don't want my child to have that connotation associated with their name, and it would steer me away from certain names. But I liked the name Nadia. It was close to Natasha. It was Eastern European, and people thought of like energy, and I think it's because of Nadia Comaneci. She wasn't named after her, the gymnast, but people might have associated it that way. And I just thought, oh, it's such a cute little name. So we named her Nadia, and her middle name is Lauren, and my dad's name is Lawrence, and my husband's name is Lawrence as well. So strange. So that's how we got Nadia's name. And then another name that we really liked when we were naming Nadia is the name Paulina. We came across that name because it's also an Eastern European name, and I just love the Ina at the end. I like names that end like that. And Paulina is just, I don't know, just like a precious name. I thought of like a tiny little, it actually means small, and she's tall. She's like 5'9" now, but when she was little, she was always like a little peanut, very thin, very small, and just precious. And I thought the name suited her, and I'm so happy I named her that. And her middle name is Michelle, so that's Paulina Michelle. And we already liked that name when we named Nadia, so it was like already a name that like I didn't waver from throughout my whole pregnancy with her. And I did know what I was having both times. So it's a funny story with Nadia. I was working the night shift as a nurse, and I was friends with like the radiology techs and the ultrasound techs and people who'd often come to my unit and do tests on my patients. Well, the tech from ultrasound asked me if I knew what I was having, and I said no, that the baby was never in the right position whenever I had an ultrasound. And so she came up that night and did an ultrasound on me and told me the sex of my baby. I know some people are going to go like, oh my gosh, and your husband wasn't there, and did he want to know? He didn't care either way if we found out or not. He just didn't mind. And so I came home from work that day and I was like, I had an ultrasound. He's like, what are you talking about? It's like 6 in the morning or 8 in the morning. I just finished my 12-hour shift. And I said, the ultrasound tech did an ultrasound on me and I found out the sex. He's like, really, Dawn? It was 4 days before my due date. I couldn't wait. I've always been that kid who shakes presents. I want to know what's in there. So I told him and we were both very happy. And you know, so anyway, I ruined the surprise 4 days before she was born, and I don't regret it. I feel like whenever you find out what the sex of your baby is, it's exciting no matter when it is. And when I had Paulina, I definitely wanted to find out what the sex is, and I actually kind of hoped for a girl a little bit because I thought it would be really nice for Nadia to have a sister close in age, and that was the only reason I thought, oh, it might be nice to have another girl. And then we found out we were having Paulina and that she was going to be a girl. So that was wonderful. Then I had a miscarriage, and it was kind of a late miscarriage. I was already like 15 weeks, and that was awful. That was like 2 years. She would have been, or he would have been born 2 years after I had Paulina. And we had just moved out to the area where we live now from that area that I talked about where we could walk everywhere. It was like a more urban environment. We moved out to the burbs, kind of a semi-rural community. And so that was pretty brutal. And then I tried and tried and tried for a year. I remember like trying everything. I even got a book called Taking Charge of Your Fertility. I'd still recommend that to anyone because it got me pregnant. It worked. You know, it's just kind of like using the method where your temperature and secretions and kind of gross, but that's what I did. And I found out I was pregnant again, but now I had a larger gap. So then I had like a 3.5 year gap between my middle daughter, Paulina, and my firstborn son because of that miscarriage in the middle. And I finally got pregnant, and I did find out I was going to have a boy. And that was really exciting because I had the 2 girls and now we had a boy. And we always liked the name Lars because it's kind of, you know, it's a European name. And I really thought it was a nice name for my dad and my husband, who are both Lawrence, without him being a Lawrence. You know, it just sort of was like a take on that name. So we call him, he is named Lars, and I love his name. And he's tall and has blue eyes and like sandy blonde hair, so he really looks kind of like a Lars. So the name really suits him. And then it took me a while to get pregnant with Lars, like a whole year of trying. And then while I was pregnant with Lars, I was nursing and I got pregnant again, but didn't know I was pregnant. This is actually a funny story that this video is going to be long, so I'll tell it another time. But I didn't even know I was pregnant for the first 3 months because when you're nursing, you're not menstruating regularly. And I didn't think I could get pregnant at that point. And I know you're all probably saying, well, you're a nurse, Dawn, duh. But it was a pleasant surprise to find out that I was pregnant. And there was a boy name that I really liked for both of my girls, and it was Seth. So when I was pregnant with Nadia, I said, if it's a boy, I really like the name Seth. And my husband would say, oh, I don't like that name. And then, so we would nix it and find something else. Then with Paulina, same thing. And he was like, no, don't really like that name. I'm like, really? You don't like that name? I really like that name. And no, so we didn't have a boy, but we chose another name in case we did. And then with Lars, we knew we were going to name our son Lars, but, so that was that. And then when I got pregnant with the 4th one, I said to my husband, what about the name Seth? And he's like, oh, that's nice. I really like that name, as if he'd never heard it before. So I was like, yes. So my youngest, my 18-year-old son is named Seth, and his name is Seth Michael. So, and my husband's father was named Michael. So Seth is named Michael for him. So anyways, that's how my children got their names. And thank you, Kat, for asking. And I think I answered her question completely. If I didn't answer your question completely, if I answered one of your questions, I'll still go back around and answer them. I got a lot of really good questions. And like I said, there's questions within questions. So I can do this again if you like this type of video. Let me know. And if you have any questions or comments, ask me down in the comment section. And thank you for spending some time with me. I hope you have a blessed and beautiful day. I'll see you next time.